Good morning. This is Judy Gula with Artistic Artifacts in Alexandria, Virginia. And as promised, we are going to show you how I progressed with my India journal. And I ran through the door this morning because I was working on it this morning and last night. But I have been working on it for a couple of weeks now since we last met. There is another recording, a YouTube video that talks about how I start with my journals and what I did in the paint and stuff. So I'm not going to really go over that. I'm going to let you go to the other YouTube. So we're going to focus on India today. The other thing I want to let you know is that we have our information concerning our next India trip up on the website. It's 15 days. There are only 18 slots. So you can get a deposit in. There's all the information about that. Flight arrangements can be arranged. I'm working with a British tourism agency that also has contacts in India, so we will be very well taken care of. And if you read the itinerary, we're going to be staying in some incredibly spectacular places. And I'm very excited. It will be a new area of the country. We fly into Delhi and then we fly out of Mumbai. So we're going to be kind of in that central part of India. So please don't wait. It's very limited. I said, what happens if we have more people that want to come? And they go, nope, limited. This is how many people can go. We can't go over this number, which is 18. So please don't hesitate. Join there. It was in the newsletter last week. And then if there's information on our web, the complete itinerary, and the email to contact concerning deposits, payments, flights, and all that stuff. All right.
There's one question about no sound. Can somebody else tell us whether there's sound or not, or if it's just Marcy needs to adjust hers?
Celia's saying she has sound. Caitlin, do you have sound?
I do.
All right.
Okay. We seem to be okay on this side.
Okay, I can hear from someone else. Okay.
Okay. All right. So this is our journals that came from India, and these are vintage saris, previously worn, that have been attached to create a journal. I like this kind of binding on them because, as you can see, my journal is going to be open and it's going to have pages stuffed with stuff. So I like to have that ability to add trinkets and things to the inside. So I like these openings. The paper is a cotton paper that we visited the factory when we were in India last year. It's cotton rag, it's recycling, it's got an amazing feel. And when you're a fabric person, really, really like the feel of it. It's wonderful. So for those of you who may have joined us last time, this page looks a little different, and Chris, you're going to have to get really close. So what happened here is I have some stamping, and I like to use StazOn because it dries really fast, and therefore my attention span keeps going. And then I have some of Seth Apter's beeswax on there. So this will be your joke for the morning. There's little paint chips in here, and there's beeswax. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe the beeswax will hold the paint chips. That's what'll happen. So the first time I tried it, I forgot glue. So you can imagine where all the beeswax and the paint chips went. They did not stick to the page. So then I went back, and I got my Versamark, and I literally just stamped it without a stamp, without a pattern, to try and get some glue on it. And I tried to put the paint chips in with the beeswax, and it worked a little bit better, but I'm not sure I would do that way again. So there's your giggle, is as soon as I put the heat gun on it, it just went, happens to everybody, at least once. Hopefully we don't have it happen too much time. But you can see I went back and I like the StazOn because it's alcohol ink, it's going to dry fast, and if I get water on it, it's not going to affect it. So there we have some of that. I always leave some blank pages. So these are pages I think you saw last time. This is myself and my two girlfriends. We all turned 60 last year. These are some pictures of Old Delhi. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing with this page. It hasn't come to me yet, so I just leave it and I go on to the next one. So here's some more. And cows really are sacred. They really are roam all over the place. They really, you know, it's just funny where you see the cows. So they're there. This is some marbled paper I had in my stash that I used. We did go to a spice shop. That was pretty amazing. I'm not sure what I'm doing with this page either, but if anybody's watched The Crown and they talk about the prince's visit to India, this whole piece, this palace, Pink Palace is what it's called, in Jaipur, was built for the prince's visit to India. That was the whole thing. So I'm thinking I try to keep my pictures small because I don't want to hide the paper, but I don't think there's any way you go small on this one. So that's why that's not done. This one is wonderful blue, and it's not pottery. It's actually a granite that is ground up. And one of the things I want to show you on this one is so here's a piece of tissue paper, and I would block print these and I print them with stamps, but I like the tissue paper because you can see what happens here. I use matte medium on it and it disappears, but it's translucent. So you really can see what is there. And when you use tissue paper, if you use matte medium, sorry, that's not what I use soft gel. If you use matte medium, you're going to tear the paper. But if we use soft gel, here, it has less water in it. Fancy. So this is the back.
So while you're doing that, someone asked said stays on smells so bad. Could you use archival ink as a substitute?
You can use whatever stamp pads you have. That is just the one that I like because it dries so fast. I do have a problem. I guess I have an issue where if I like the sprays that are water soluble, I don't do very well with those because I want to spray first and then I want to put glue on top of it and then my sprays run. So whatever you have, use it if it works for you. I just have this issue with I do it backwards. I don't use a fixative when I'm working. So those are just the reasons why I figured it out. But definitely if you already got stamps in your stash, use them. Okay, so see this, and then what I'm gonna do, and I ripped it because I was fingering it, but if you put the soft gel, okay, I have had coffee today. See, then that makes it, you can see what's behind it. I love tissue paper. I do love it and use it quite a bit. And I tend to use it on the layers up rather than on the page down, if that makes sense. You could put it as your first layer instead of paint. So that's one of my tricks is tissue paper. This is tissue paper. You can see I closed the page too soon. The other thing that I found as I was working it here was I was trying to go into this spine. You guys might already know this, but I, have to learn my own way. And I found that as I go too close to the spine, then the binding is bringing the pages too close and I'm getting rubbing. So that was part of what it was. It was that I would, in the next one of the later pages I'll show you, I backed my picture out of this gutter here. So this is one of the woodblock factories we went to, and they have these just long tables, and these gentlemen have die next to them, and they are just stamping these pieces. So these are going to be tablecloths. You can see where the cuts are. Multiple guys. It's typically a factory, and a factory is a factory anywhere.
What kind of ink or paint do you use when you stamp on tissue paper?
I use a lot of my acrylic paints. I use whatever. So a lot of times I'll be making a printed piece on a piece of fabric. So I will have 2 stamp pads, and I will print on the fabric first to get my first print, and then I'll print on the tissue paper to kind of use up the paint. So it's not necessarily so even, but I do most of my printing with our Artistic Artifacts textile paints. But again, stamps work fine. If you have inks, rubber stamps, wood blocks, I use them all. This page I haven't done anything from the last time. I'm still kind of processing that one. This page, I'm not sure what I'm doing with that, but I use the brayer to put the paint down on this, and I do use the Artistic Artifacts textile paint, and then I actually started mixing some of Seth's Paper Artsy paint. I love it because it's flat. The Artistic Artifacts tends to be a little bit shinier. And this is just a stencil where I put the stencil down in pieces, and I didn't just plop my stencil down. You know, like I don't just put the stencil down and do it all like that. I pick the pieces of the stencil I want, and I can stencil it like this and move it around, and think of your stencils in partial pieces. This was the indigo vats. This, and so I I printed this picture. This is on cardstock, and then I made this motif by sewing different layers together, and then I glued the paper to the page.
Is this one of your Indian trims?
Yes, this is one of my Indian trims. So I glued it, so that's a 3-dimensional. We do have a few new Indian trims, and then we also bagged some shorter pieces of the Indian trims. I'm an indigo junkie, so this is where they have pulled it out of the vat, and this is where they dry it. So one of the things, even when you buy our Indian fabric, you must wash it, because they don't have dryers. They dry everything in the dirt. I don't think that is different anywhere in India. So whenever you get something from India, you're gonna, with these lengths, especially the indigo, you're gonna wanna make sure you've got it washed. This is jelly plate printed piece. Part of what I do when I'm actually working with block printing and jelly plate printing is that I don't do it with a purpose. I do it to create stash. So then I have these trays that I start pulling stuff. So you can see I have some block printed tissue paper. I have some pages. Here's the page. I have found this on my bulletin board when I unburied my bulletin board. And I have some of the rice paper pieces are really wonderful. I have a piece of fabric. So this is kind of my short list of what I definitely want to use. I have lots more pictures that I printed. So that's kind of how I work. But whenever I'm printing and using a jelly plate, there's nothing for a purpose. It's only to just play. And that's what I recommend, because then you have that available for you. So, okay. Now this one is the rice paper. So I did the rice paper the last time. And March was absolutely gorgeous in India. It was never too hot. It was beautiful in Jaipur, and lots of flowers were blooming. And then whenever you went into a palace, you always had these paintings on the walls that were absolutely fantastic. So what I was trying to do was pop this. So I used some of Gwen's boho. It's here somewhere. I have a big box of embossing powder. So this is embossing powder. This is one of Gwen's stamps. I'll do an embossing demo. I love Seth Apter stamps. I love Gwen LaFleur's stamps. And Gwen and I are kind of kindred spirits. We love to travel. We love that tribal look. So I tend to gravitate to hers. So I'll show you those in a minute, because that's kind of messy. All right, why don't we put one over here? Come here.
Tissue paper, what kind do you use?
Any kind. You know, whatever packing tissue paper, lightweight. I like the lightest weight, so maybe gift wrapping tissue paper. All right, so I use Versamark. So what this is glue and a glue stamp. They do have re-inkers for them somewhere. So, and I tend to put my, and it's, you know, clear. Some of them are pink. I have a pink one somewhere. So there's glue on this. You can see it's a little wet. We're gonna put it up here. You gotta make sure you wash your stamp. And then, this is the part that gets kind of messy. This is a little bit different color. It's not that brighter. All right. Yes, getting it back in the jar is a little tricky. You can see it's got a little bit.
I'll move around like.
It never all goes back. Never all goes back. Oops, yeah, there we go. So this is a boho blend from Gwen. And this is a heat gun. It has a concentrated heat, so it's much more powerful than, say, a hair dryer. And it's going to melt this embossing powder. And so I won't be able to talk, it's gonna be loud, but if Chris can watch, all of a sudden it goes from powder to liquid. Oops, only when you have power. So can you see how it turned? And that page is hot. So you definitely, I tend to try to move it a little bit more because all of a sudden it'll get hot enough and it'll just go boom and it'll liquefy and then it will dry. So that is, I use embossing at this period of time when it's layered. And this is definitely using rice paper. So these are a couple of new pages that I did. As I said, the flowers were really gorgeous and they were just everywhere. Everything was blooming. This is gonna be, again, tissue paper. And what I did with that one, we sell these really large stamps, cover card stamps. And so I will actually use my Mega Mount. That's what these things are for. They're really great. And of course I couldn't find mine this morning, so we'll just, good thing I have a store. So how you do these is like this. They're supposed to stick, but mine's pretty dirty. All right, so they'll stick. I just need to clean it a little bit. And then I will usually take my stamp pad, and this is how I put my stamping on. So it's, again, I have no idea if I've covered everything. And this is gonna slide right off, so let's find a different page, okay. Not, so you can barely see it. And if I was on tissue paper, so let's use a different one. And this isn't really words, it's just kind of takes a reflection of words. Let's see if that stamps it in better. Yep, okay, so that's a little bit better. You do, whenever, I recommend that anytime you buy stamps, stamp pads, that you look for the re-inkers, because the re-inkers are harder to find than the stamp pads are. And as you can see, if I don't like what I did, I just do it again. So that way, this is block printed fabric, and this is also block printed fabric, again, flowers. I'm not very good at gardening, but I certainly love the colors of flowers. So if you look at this piece here, this has some block printed papers, which we have a lot of papers. You'll be seeing those soon. And we have we have boxes that are using the hand blocked papers. So those are on our website. You can buy the box by itself, or you can buy it with a selection of 50 sheets of handmade paper. We don't have the paper separate yet, but it's coming. Okay, I think this is up. So I wouldn't necessarily, for arrangement, put this here. Sometimes I do, but I'm gonna put this down here. And you can see my edges are kind of up. Oh, there it is. So this paper is just gorgeous. It just rips really nicely. I'm putting soft gel on it. I'm using a Teflon sheet, so a goddess sheet, anything that's Teflon. I don't seem to ever be able to find my parchment paper, so the Teflon sheet's brown. The credit card keeps the glue semi thin. And so that's how I built my frame over here. So my paper's a little short, but that gives you the idea. I would go ahead and put another one up there, but I don't want to take the time to rip it. These Teflon sheets, you can scrub them, you can clean them off. They're very nice. They don't cut very well, so you want to keep your scissors, your rotary cutters away from them. This is the big mustache. I don't know if you've noticed that, but that's from that's left over from when Britain, India was a colony of Britain, and all those guys in the 1900s, the British had these big long mustaches. So the Indians keep those. That's actually a very important thing, those big mustaches. This is where I've used a spray ink that is water soluble. See? And this is what sometimes gets me in trouble. So this, I have soft gel on my finger. It's actually not looking too bad, is it? But, so when I add paint, I'm actually moving my background. So I tend to stay away from those, just because I don't know how to use them right. Let's see. Did I do anything on this? Okay, yes. So this was a piece that was a die cut. Again, not something that I've ever gotten attached to, but I like the idea. So we were making tags from map stuff. I guess it's upside down, but oh well. So I had these pinned to my bulletin board, this bird and this here. So I wanted to make a window, and I used washi tape. So this is a piece of washi tape. So the layers are, this is a piece of text that's been jelly plate printed. Here's a piece of tissue paper that's been block printed. And then it's going to add some variety because it's a window. Now, that's what I want to do over here, but I haven't gotten there yet. I'm not quite sure. It's kind of like, I think I want to cut this out and have it be this. But, yeah, haven't gotten there yet. But it's got a placeholder. All right, this was one that was kind of an experiment. And I stayed away from the gutter a little bit more, but maybe not enough. And I used my washi tape. And then I took some spray with this, and I sprayed. And that was just a little bit too uncontrolled for me. I know, it seems out of character to me too. So I went back and I used this same stencil with molding paste. And of course, and we have this deco foil molding paint in, probably gold and silver, some limited colors. And if you look at it over here, you can't quite see it. So I was like, okay, so what do I do to the rest of the page? Well, I really like these Faber-Castell pens, Pip pens. This is India ink, so it's not going to run. And I thought I would like the small tip. Did I bring a small tip one? Yes. This is the ones I bought first. I thought, okay. And I find that I use the brush ones more. So if I wanted to come over here, rather than getting paint out, I actually can use these guys as paint. And all I'm trying to do is make you see my molding paste. And the molding paste is resisting the colors. But this gives me a little bit more control. And I think I probably will end up coloring the whole page. And the spray I used is an acrylic spray from Marabou. And as you can see, it's not, it stays. It's not blending with this pen or anything. Whereas if we went back to the other page over here, I think this blends. Maybe a little bit because it's wet. So you can, it behaves. It depends on what you want the result to be. But anytime, some of these things are always going to reactivate with water. So I think that's what I'm going to do. It's a little messy, but that's okay. If I don't like it, I can always put another piece of paper over it. But that's why I like those ink pens. The other thing we have are these gel pens. These are wonderful on black paper. There's metallic. There's souffle, they pop up. This gives you a smaller line than the brush pens. We brought these back. We have these online. So it's going to be a different texture. So why have one green when you can have 4 or 5 greens? These work really nicely over paint. That's one of the problems with pens sometimes, and the gel pens I think have become a hit because they work really nicely over paint. They work better if the paint's dry, but they work really nicely. Okay, let's see what else. This one I haven't gotten done yet, but this is foil. So on a sheer, let's see which side. Okay, this is the better side. And this is part of the palace. So somehow I'm gonna be able to, again, have some dimension to that. And then I did find this vintage piece about a sari, what the fabric is, how to wear one. So I made a little pocket, and then I used the tape to keep it. And then this was tissue paper, so I printed not on white, I printed on pink tissue paper. Then this, and I made this an open look so that there was some consistency here. This was one of my stitch meditations that I did when I was over there. This is a piece that is on the museum of Heritage Arts and Crafts in Delhi, Old Delhi, New Delhi, yeah, Old Delhi. And then, oh, here's where I got it right. Okay, maybe not lined up, but I tried to leave this gutter open so that there's not the rubbing that occurs. This is a very famous picture for India, which is this palace that is in water. And I think they said somebody just bought it. Yeah, this is a vintage piece that I found in my stash, and it just kind of gave me the idea of the reflection of the water.
Well, it's a piece of fabric.
Yeah, it's a piece of fabric. It's got netting, and so I took these bigger pieces and put soft gel on them and stuck them down, so it seems to be okay, but it's not fully stuck down, if that makes any sense. And then I can't remember if I had these pages done, but there's this controversy about whether it's good to take a ride on an elephant or a camel, or whether it's animals, and they feel that it's better that the animals are in their natural habitat. So we went to this reserve that have these 3 beautiful elephants. See, here's these 3 elephants. And there's the birthday girls again. And of course you see elephants in lots and lots of trim. This is one of the trims that I brought back. Stuck that down with soft gel. This is a piece from Indonesia that we hand stitched. So this is one of our batik timbal pieces that had been all hand stitched. I had done that before, but it's an elephant, so now it's an Indian elephant, even if it's not an Indian elephant. And I think that that's as far as I got there. And then I have lots and lots more pictures that I printed that have to do with the painted ceilings in these palaces. I mean, there is amazing artwork in these palaces that happened during the Mughal time, and it's really great. Wow, I have more to show you, but I guess we're gonna have to do that another time because it's 10 o'clock. Are there any questions? No questions? Okay, well, hopefully some of you will want to come to India with me, and that I've encouraged you to do that. And if not, hopefully make a journal, because another trip that we have coming up next year is going to be to Italy, and I have a whole journal for that too. So we'll have to take some pictures of that and post it.
Gwen's class.
Gwen's class is coming up. The registration is open. Gwen was our Facebook Live person last week, so she did a wonderful Facebook Live for us, and her class is up and ready to go. And so there is a cutoff time there where we will not take any more registration, so please make sure you read the information on our website in the class area. Okay, lots of new products. We are going to have a Facebook Live sell Thursday evening at 7 o'clock. And you can see, it's Purse Bonanza. We have purses and textiles from India that we brought in and just have not been able to get up on the website. So we will be selling those. If we have time, which we have no idea, if we will have time, we will actually try to present some of these. We teased you with a few of them. They are on Facebook Marketplace for artistic artifacts. They're numbered and they're priced. But so if you want one now before we sell them on live, please send us an email to sales@artisticartifacts.com. Can you think of anything else? Okay, Chris says we're good. Thank you. Follow us social media. Come visit us in the store. We are here and ready for you. Have a great day. Thank you.